Friday afternoon. Things are getting weird. What else is new, right? But we're here for it. We're totally here for it. 100%. And so, you know, who doesn't love having a little fun, right? So as you guys filter in, we're gonna talk about it. Let's see. Okay. All right. Weird. Nobody. Oh, there you go. Hey, from Denmark. Welcome. Welcome. We're gonna let people filter on in, and then we're gonna, talk about the FBI, the director of the FBI, having his email hacked and appearing to be potentially a Cuban asset. That's right. Mm-hmm. So, yep, welcome. Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, we're gonna do a more general kind of, uh, Iran war update. Oh my God, I can only imagine the cybersecurity of Truth Social. I can't even imagine. Oof, and Iran is doing some just vicious trolling, guys. Truly some brutal trolling. Oof. We're gonna talk about that too. Javier, do something with your caffeine addiction. Listen, dude, listen. I have 2 kids under 3, okay? My son woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. And I still knock out 25 miles a week on a light week. We're already at 27 right now. So, yeah, that's right. That's right. I am addicted to caffeine. What do you think? You think I would sell a caffeine gum if I wasn't a connoisseur of the stuff? Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, I mean this is just some comically bad stuff. Or I bet it's something even stupider, like Kash Patel's like OnlyFans password got hacked and then he used the same password on his Gmail. It's something that stupid, truly. Yeah, data zero. Data, yeah, 450 to 500 milligrams a day. Let me think. So basically, if a cup of coffee has 90, so we're at 90, 180. And then this is another, this is a triple. So this is be another, we'll say this is unusually strong. But we'll say another 90, so that puts what 270 plus a strike gum in the afternoon puts me at around, yeah, right around there, a little under you actually. Yeah, Cash should probably change his passwords every so often. Do something about it. You mean get a coffee IV? Yeah, that's right. Straight caffeine into the membrane. I mean, that's what strike gum is about. RK, $5. I'm exhausted from all this instability. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? It's exhausting to me too. The answer is no, because this is a core part of the Trump administration's strategy. I mean, you notice the dude just memory wiped the Epstein files. And again, it's like we kind of have to because we're talking about like the future of the country. We're talking about global matters of like true global import. But when this wraps up, rest assured, the American public by the midterms is not going to forget the Epstein class, right? Howard Lutnick still belongs in fucking jail. Trump deserves to be in jail. Every Epstein associate needs to rot in prison. And sorry, I don't mean Epstein associate. I mean innocent person who knew nothing about Epstein's heinous crimes, right? Do you think still U.S. still has reserves to meddle in Cuba? Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, we could gin up if we had to. I mean, I think, I think 1 million active duty troops. So 5,000, right? 50,000 in the Middle East, nothing, nothing. So yeah, this is just classic. And I see people are coming in. We're gonna do a map update. We're gonna talk about the Kash Patel hack. We're gonna do it all. We're gonna check oil prices, which are an absolute fucking wreck, dudes. Just truly absolutely getting crushed. Oh shoot, they've been crushed even more since I checked this morning. Damn, U.S. stock market, right? SPY getting absolutely riggedy wrecked. Dude, this is bad. This is bad. Yeah, I mean it's not so much like Signalgate. Signalgate was bad, but more than that, Signalgate, the total lack of consequences was also bad. So, okay, do we want to talk about this? Should we talk about our problems? Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay. So, one, the Iranians doing a little trolling. As you can see, Iranian's parliamentary speaker running some trolling through ChatGPT a little bit. This is a reference to the Trump administration, have spammed so much fake news trying to push energy prices down that the market's just numb now. Keep going. Nobody's buying it anymore. Now, what I love about this trolling, it says the real prices will show up anyway. Powerful? Maybe, but smart? Not even close. I love how it even has that ChatGPT rhetorical flair where it asks a question, then answers it, right? Answers hypothetical. I mean, it's everything but the EM dash. But that said, he's still right, and it's still brutal trolling because they point out that the administration has pulled out a bunch of cards to try to stabilize oil prices. They've literally lied and said the straits were reopened. They've actually lied explicitly and said the U.S. Navy was escorting ships through the strait, including the U.S. Energy Secretary, saying it had happened when it hadn't. Then they claimed they were having the U.S. was going to insure the ships, but there was a whole bunch of gaps, right? Like the insurance would not have been complete, and it wouldn't have protected like the ships against like potential losses, and so so that didn't work. It just everything the U.S. has tried to do has just not worked, and the only options left, as people point out, is basically some kind of big military swing, some kind of big thing that Trump thinks is going to be a decisive blow. And we've shown that basically Trump doesn't really have like de-escalate, doesn't really have lose, doesn't really have compromise. He has ratcheted up or bail as his two cards. And again, I'm surprised he hasn't taken bail already. Yeah, I know. If there's one thing Trump should be good at, it's figuring out how to travel to an island. You know, this whole administration, man, they're masters at it. It's just an isolated island just calls to them. It's just beckoning. It's saying, come to me, a good time will be had. Howard Lutnick, it's like a psychic beacon, you know, it's like some StarCraft shit, just drawing the Epstein class to it. Kill Marines, send Marines to die on some shitty island for no reason. Like, yes, yes, the island. And yeah, so, you know, uh, interesting. Israeli security officials also reporting Iran can sustain its current rate of fire for weeks to rouse enough launchers and team to spread out the attacks over time. Yeah, this is actually reportedly one of the big constraints is actually the launchers. And that generally the launchers, when deployed, don't have a long lifespan. And so the idea is in part that Iran is sort of stretching out their launchers to make sure there's always something going on. But the catch is, yeah, the missile launchers are tough. The missile launchers pose a real problem. But the other problem is that the drones continue. And at some point, as long as they have enough missiles to force air defenses to make tough choices, eventually, you know, we see those drones get through. I mean, as discussed, the you know, this is the Russian strategy. Ukraine has a 85, 86% shoot down rate. But when you're talking about 1,000 drones a night, that means Russia successfully hits 150 targets, you know? And that's the Iranian strategy. And as they, you know, at first the Russian support for Iran was a little clandestine. It was a little underhanded. The fear was that it would actually that the Iranian regime would collapse, or Iranians would make a deal, and Russia would just look dishonest. And now we see Russia is explicitly, very explicitly, claiming responsibility for assisting Iran, right? And like that's a pretty big problem, right? Here is Iran's president thanking President Putin for support in war with the U.S. and Israel. So this is pretty troubling, right? That these guys are not being subtle about it. They're literally broadcasting it. They're broadcasting it, saying, yes, you have helped us. And Russia says, I'm proud to help our ally, right? This is exactly what happened in Ukraine, where at first, during the first days of the war, foreign countries said, well, we don't want to intervene because we don't want to have the political costs of offering help and then have Ukraine collapse and we have to pay the political costs without getting any of the benefits of helping. Now, once Ukraine demonstrated that they were in the fight for the long term, that they were capable of meaningfully resisting Russian aggression, suddenly assistance started to pour in because the West said, oh, here's a real chance to help a really capable adversary diminish the Russian military. And so we're seeing that play out here, where Russia is now being honest, saying, yeah, we're proud to support Iran. You're going to see China do the same thing, I think, in all likelihood. Chinese ships have been allowed through the Strait of Hormuz. Again, I think you're here. I think what you have here is increasingly a sign that, like, the Russians are not at all afraid. And, I see you, chat. You made a good point that the Russian State Duma is touring the U.S., right? And I mean, this is something that used to be considered a problem. A representative hosting Russian lawmakers. Now, bear in mind, guys, Russian lawmakers, they are not freely elected. They are Putinist lackeys to what they call mixed GOP reactions. Condemnation from Ukrainian adversary groups, Russian opposition in exile. She says she's facilitating dialogue, but again, this is like, these are people who are heavily sanctioned. They were allowed into the U.S. Capitol. Almost certainly they are, compromised by the FSB. A congressional aide said they entered Mike Johnson's suite of offices through the balcony unannounced. Mike Johnson wasn't there at the time. Okay, good luck. And you see who else? Who else is here to cheer on the Russians? By the way, these are people who, again, these Russian lawmakers actively facilitated the deaths of soldiers. Actively, like not in the past, but like this month. Those soldiers that were killed in that strike, the location for that was provided to them by Russia. And they're being hosted and cheered by, and Derek Van Orden's from Wisconsin, Andy Ogles, notorious piece of shit, Eli Crane, Vicente Gonzalez, right? And truly, these people can all go fuck themselves. Every last one of them. Yeah. Luna claimed that Congress has one obligation to establish communication, foster dialogue, especially with one of the world's greatest nuclear superpowers who's typically seen as an adversary. That's because, as Andy Barr points out, Russia is an adversary who works tirelessly to subvert American national interests. I love this one. Luna's calling. Obviously, this is administration supporting Ukrainian resistance to Russia's further invasion of Ukraine. I would question about what the objectives. I assume he means of the trip are. Yeah. Yeah. Again, the only people that don't seem to understand that Russia is an enemy of the United States is some members of the administration. Like, truly, they cannot seem to conceptualize, despite Russia openly being like, whoa, we love when we kill American soldiers. We love helping the Iranians kill Americans. And meanwhile, like, Miss America First is like, is Russia the good guys? No, they're not. But this is your daily reminder that Representative Luna is literally a sex worker. And there's nothing wrong with that, but do you think that's a good path to do you think that's a good path to the White House or to the governorship? Perhaps not. Right? Now, let's see. Local college. She modeled and worked briefly as she was a cocktail waitress at a strip club. Excuse me. She worked briefly as a cocktail waitress at a strip club. Then she was a swimsuit model for Maxim and was an Instagram influencer. Okay. As well as served as an airfield management specialist. Good for her. Right. And she went viral comparing Hillary Clinton to herpes, which is an interesting comparison for her to make. Just saying. Just saying. So, there we go. And let's talk about Kash. Well, actually, no, wait, there's more. So, in addition to the consistent Iranian strikes that many of these countries don't even seem to be acknowledging now, the UAE recognizing that UAE alone intercepted 6 ballistic missiles and 9 drones launched from Iran in the last 24 hours. You know, the country whose missile capabilities, the U.S. is like, we totally destroyed them. They're totally destroyed. And the Kuwaitis are just like, well, we are intercepting some number of strikes. You know, this is far from a defeated enemy. And this is definitely not a conflict that is totally wrapping up. And the market seems to have finally realized that, because oil is officially hitting, let's see, we are approaching highs for the last years. In fact, we are coming up on exceeding a 5-year high. You can see Brent crude's peak during the Russian invasion of Ukraine was at 119, and you can see we are creeping up to 114. So we are looking at a Biden inflationarium, like those 9% inflation. That was the 9% inflation era, and you see what happened there. You can see there's the COVID price at just $17 a barrel or $20 a barrel, essentially not worth even pumping the oil for most countries. But again, what we're seeing now is a really worrying, we'll say, 114. Again, if you're the administration, you're in crisis mode, because you can see here that administration announcements, the market has just simply accepted defeat. There is not going to be an off-ramp. The administration has tried to find one. They've signaled that they want one. And the Iranians are clearly like, no, 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 we're going to come out of this one on top. And on top for us means that we are going to drive up the price of oil. So, okay. Yeah, we are approaching post-COVID levels of oil prices. And buckle up, buckle up. Clearly the market seems to have its opinion. Here is the 5-day chart for the SPY. You can see here that we've gone from about 660, now trading about 632. But when you look at the 1 year, you see it's bad right here. 691, almost SPY, almost trading at 700. I'm using SPY. I could use the S&P, right? Right around 700. Now look at it. Now look at it, right? This is peak Epstein. This is when Pam Bondi was like, look at that stock price, guys. Look at it. She said, why would you ask all these questions about the Epstein files when stocks are so high? And now stock's bad, stock's sad, stock's losing, let's see, from 700 to 630 is about 10% of its value. Whoops, whoops, whoops. The Dow's over 5,000. The Dow is over 5,000, guys. Why are you so worried about? Why are you so worried about Jeffrey Epstein? Oh man, now do we get to worry about Epstein? Now do we get to be mad about the pedophiles in government? Yeah, we do. Okay, exquisite bat soup. Before this stupid war, it was clear the Republicans were going to get killed in the midterms. Now, because of the war, do you think the midterms will be even more of a slaughter? Could the Republicans lose the Senate? Well, one, the Senate, not enough seats are up for election that there is likely to be a flip. That said, right, there is, they're now saying 50-50, dead heat. Which party will win the Senate in 2026? So the Senate may fall. The Senate may flip. Crazy. Crazy. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at this. Literally, in July of this year, the Democrats had a 30% chance. Then the Democrats called all those protesters terrorists and were like, those suburban moms, they were about to kill those innocent ICE agents. That's why she got shot in the fucking head. And people were like, wow, that's pretty fucked up. And then right here, you see it. Trump was like, oh, by the way, that whole no new wars thing. Well, actually, technically, Israel wants a war. So we're just gonna kill a few Americans really fast. We're just gonna kill them really quick. And now we're neck and neck. It's literally just the price of oil. Somebody has probably done like a thing with R and just been like, okay, correlate the price of oil to a voting model, and it's just putting a bunch of stuff behind it, right? Right, now let's see. Ooh, 2026 midterms. Let's see more of them. 51 chance, 85% chance for Democrats to take the House. 235 Democratic seats. Not the 2/3 they need, but boy, not looking good. Not looking good. And 235 up for election. Yeah, this would be pretty bad news. Not a butchering, but enough that the Democrats could get some real defections, but not the 60% that they really need, to really force shit through. Yeah. Yeah, of the 38 gerrymandered to absolute shit Texas districts, You know, there's still some hope. Let's see. Wait, let me see some of these districts. I literally don't even have the candidates. Okay, dude, we know who the candidates are, all right? Whoa, thank you, Arn Ice. Shout out from a marine biologist in Iceland to buds fighting in Pokrovsk area since early last year at least. I know are alive and well, been rocking the Russians, say no more. Glad to help the UAO and others alongside my monthly FU to Putin and any Putin terrorist Trumpers out there. Thank you, dude. Thank you. And I'm gonna drop now in the description is already the link to our fundraiser that's still going on. This is specifically the units that we linked up with during my trip to Ukraine. Iceland's a beautiful place. You can see we've literally exceeded it, but don't worry, you guys can still donate and they will still hook you guys up with the 25th patches. The 25th still showing up. Huge shout out to Anon, glory to the heroes, Reese, Joseph, Kyle R. Mullins, Sean. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. So makes my day to see these guys. And thank you. Wait, let me make sure I drop this link in here for anybody that wants to donate. We're also going to do maybe this weekend or maybe next week. We're going to actually do a Ukraine, like a live stream, and we're going to auction off some signed flags. Raffle off, not auction off. Raffle off some signed flags. You know, the candidates are not who the elite want them to be. All right, that is one of the most important things that donors want you to believe is that, you know, money wins elections. It doesn't. Well-funded candidates get their shit crushed all the time. All right, it helps. Money helps, but it is not decisive, especially now, especially in the age of social media. Oh man, look at this. 70% chance of US forces entering Iran by December 31st. Yikes, lads. Yikes. And that's actually down, but still 73 oof. Rough, guys. That's a bunch of stuff, but also a 75% chance of a ceasefire by the end of the year. Okay, that's pretty confusing. So basically the market is forecasting probably US boots on the ground and then a ceasefire by June, basically. All right. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Okay, but I want to point out the US will also confirm that aliens exist by December 31st. So, you know, 16% chance. It's a 1 in 8 chance that aliens are real and the government knows about it. B. Ferg asks, what percent of candidates are funded by AIPAC? You're going to have to look at the AIPAC tracker. Because remember, a lot of them also, AIPAC donates to primary races, like really heavily. Yeah, I feel bad. I really wanted, I mean, I support as much as I make fun of Rep Luna for being a piece of shit. I actually think it's really good to have people that have more like regular American type of jobs in the Senate and more young people and more people with different backgrounds. So I really wanted to see Kat get to the Senate. I love that Brendan Herrera appears to be going to the House. I think, I mean, I think the country could stand to do with a little more, you know, a more active progressive wing that actually pushes for real policies. So All right, should we talk about this Kash Patel thing? The Kash Patel thing is unhinged. So Iranian hackers, unironically, have hacked into Kash Patel's personal emails and found images, and a lot of embarrassing images from his Gmail account. But particularly, here are pictures from Havana, Cuba that were published, most with cigars. So here he is at some kind of dinner, but you see it's some kind of official dinner because look, here's Kash Patel himself, way underdressed. Everyone else is wearing a button-up, and he's got jeans. And he's smelling a Cuban cigar. Here he is also in a 5-star hotel in Havana, Cuba, also smoking a cigar. Another shot of him in a 5-star hotel in Havana, Cuba, smoking a cigar. Or sorry, taking a picture of rum. A statue of him with Hemingway. God, people are like, he is the most, he has no aura at all. Truly, truly. I get it. He's a young kid, but this looks like maybe when he got started as a prosecutor. But what I think is most embarrassing, again, and not embarrassing, yeah, I mean, people are like, oh, he's totally dripless and a total doofus. All of those things are true. But the real problem is this. Americans cannot travel to Cuba for tourism. If you're going to arrive in Cuba, you have to be there to support private businesses and cannot stay in government-run hotels. But every hotel is essentially government-run. Do not spend money on any businesses listed at the U.S. State Department's Cuba restricted list, which includes most hotels, shops, and travel agencies. So, right? Interesting. Travel to Cuba for tourist activities is prohibited by statute. There are 12 categories of travel you can take, right? So, yeah. Oh, King, thank you. Everybody go buy some Strike gum. That's true too, guys. Right? Yeah, I guess you could probably stay at people's houses, but family visits, official business of the U.S. government, foreign governments, certain intergovernmental organizations, journalistic activity, professional research and professional meetings, educational activities, religious activities, public performances, clinics, workshops, athletic and other competitions, exhibition, support for the Cuban people, humanitarian projects, activities of private foundations or research or educational institutions, exportation, importation, transmission of information or informational materials, and certain authorized export transactions, right? So it is not definitive that he wasn't here for one of these purposes, but based on those photos, he appeared to have conducted at least some unauthorized activities and purchases, right? Again, it depends on what the law was at the time he did it, but it is a bad look for the FBI director. Here are some more images that are just dumb. Again, I feel bad because like I have pictures all like this from when I was in college. Being in college just means you're kind of a fucking, you're figuring things out. You're kind of a loser, right? That's what it means to be in college. You're just awkward, an awkward dude. The difference is I didn't commit crimes in college and I didn't visit sanctioned countries, right? That's where they get you. Oh, interesting. Andrew List speculating the first photo drop is just to establish credibility. Ooh, that would be juicy because you know, Kat, I would be so curious to know if there is more stuff. You know what I mean? More things. I mean, he can't have an affair because he's unmarried, but you know. No, this was not a recent trip. This looks like a trip from probably his 20s. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, Kash Patel looks so uncool in every picture. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, and the thing is, if you control the Department of Justice, then you control enforcement, right? And ultimately, the reason, and that's always been true, but the difference is most people are like, listen, if you want to win American elections, you can't engage in brazen, obvious corruption. Oh, interesting. As your Jester, Cash is 100% a fan of drugs and is dumb enough to take pictures. That's true. If he has a bunch of shit in Cuba with Cuban cigars, that dude definitely has pictures of him smoking weed. Definitely. Yeah, 20s me was so dumb, dude. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. There's definitely photos of Cash smoking weed. But you know what 20s me never did? Drugs. Never did our drugs. Because I was in ROTC and the Army was paying me like, you know, my entire college tuition. At the time, it was like 20 grand a year plus a stipend for not fucking doing drugs and not committing crimes. Two very easy things. And I was like, I'm going to continue to do that because I love getting paid and I'm not regarded. You're right. Maybe I'm the dummy because I didn't become the FBI. I'm not director of the FBI. You actually couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me to be director of the FBI. Marijuana is not hard drugs, but it is considered a hard drug by the government, by the federal government. So again, you would not be eligible for security clearance. I had a friend who desperately wanted to be an analyst or some kind of personnel with the FBI or the CIA, and he could not do it because he in college actually would collect money from his roommates and go pick up the weed for them, and that made him a drug dealer. So he was honest about it. He was like, yeah, I bought, like non-personal quantities of weed. And so now he's barred from government service. Yeah, people like it's legal in the state. Sometimes it's not even legal. It's just decriminalized. Like it's against the law, but it is not, there's no punishment associated with it. Yeah, being deputy director does seem to have destroyed Dan Bogino's reputation. Um, yeah. Yeah, like if you here's the thing. Being an FBI director is so hard to do well if you are highly competent, incredibly experienced, and very committed to the mission. And if you're not those things, you look like a fucking clown. Well, the president can do a line of Adderall on the Resolute desk because he, he controls the Department of Justice. And actually, no, I'm sorry. The Supreme Court says there's only one way to hold the president accountable, and that is through the act of impeachment by Congress and the Senate. And if they're not willing to do it, then that's that. That's true. Matt Scorpio, the only job requirement today is just sort of kissing Trump's ass in North Korea style meetings. He's so great. He's so smart. I mean, Dan Bongino, I presume, was enough of a guy to like um was enough a large enough podcaster to become deputy director of the FBI, despite having been a non-supervisory Secret Service agent. Havana cigars are illegal in the States, right? Now there's rumors that you can buy some like uh cigars from the DR that might be relabeled. But they're from the DR. You know? Yeah. So again, drop any other questions you guys have in the chat, of course, as always. Yeah, the American century of humiliation continues. Certainly. But don't worry, guys, we're bombing Iran. Um, so many Iran bombings, so many. And I heard the first 17 waves of bombing didn't defeat Iran, didn't cripple the their nuclear program or stop their ballistic missiles or stop their drone program. But the 18th guys, they're cooked. They're cooked. Yeah, Trump, nobody seems to understand, Ace, that, or nobody around Trump understands that, like, that you can look and watch Trump steamroll over his previous allies, and you can watch all of his allies be like, man, he fucked me. I hate Trump. Trump is a piece of shit. And you can be like, that's not going to happen to me. But that's like the COVID people, right? Like, so many of the COVID people were like, would see all these people who are like sick and on ventilators and had like really bad long COVID and were like, yo, I got like super fucked up by this disease. And they go, that's fake. That's not real. COVID's it's just a cough. And you're like, I don't think so, man. I think there's a lot of dead people. You know, there's like 1 million dead Americans. Right? It's like the ability of people to like see evidence with their eyes and ears and just not process it is pretty incredible. Yeah, soup here, man. I mean, just be glad you got sick and healed up, right? My wife works in runs actually a long COVID clinic, because like, and there's some people where you go, okay, your whole life you've had something, some vague thing, and this is just clearly the latest one. But there's a lot of people. I mean, you get some people who are just like, I was a rancher. I haven't taken a day off in my entire life. My dad never took a day off, and now I can't get out of bed. And you're like, okay, dude, this is not somebody who's like faking it. You know, there's people who are just like, listen, I'm like the provider for my family. I'm this high level tech executive. I again, I like founded a startup. I worked 16-hour days. Like I'm not somebody who just gets tired, you know, and they're like, and I caught COVID and I have never been the same. And it's real, man. It's real. Like, it's not real for everybody. Yeah. And luckily, there's a lot of evidence that there's a long healing process, but it does seem to be a healing process. Yeah, but it's like it's so real. And your heart breaks for the people that have it. And a lot of people, right? Yeah, a lot of people, man. A lot of people were told things that weren't true. There's somebody in the chat who's like, oh, it was a total scam, bro. Like, yeah, did you really think this was going to be a channel that was like, oh, COVID was a scam? COVID isn't real. Like, okay, dude. I mean, damn, there's a lot of dead people that died of nothing. Yeah, and war tech, COVID, like, that's the thing. There's some people whose long COVID symptoms do involve they report a lot of brain fog, fatigue. A lot of people report anxiety, which can, in part, might be an anxiety that comes from like the experience of having this like system-wide kind of disruption to your body. But yeah, there's some evidence that it has it can have actual cognitive effects. Again, most people recover, most people are fine, but when you're talking about millions and millions of people infected, even if it's 1 in 10,000 people get long COVID and you have millions of infections, that's so hard. Yeah, and worth noting, I think honestly, we're talking about this stuff. Um, and I know we're like, oh, COVID, that already happened, blah, blah, blah. But there's a theme here. And I think the theme is something that pervades this administration, which is the replacement of data and evidence and reality by fantasy, right? The fantasy that the Iranians regime will just collapse spontaneously and that some democratic order will emerge magically, in a country that's almost never had it. Uh, you have the election denial. Again, total absence of evidence. Like President Trump believes that the election was stolen in 2020, but there's no evidence for it. It's just a fantastical claim. It's something that maybe you wish was true, right? Like it'd be nice. It'd be nice to be like, oh, COVID didn't really happen. It was a regular flu. The news hyped up. But the only problem is the part where you have evidence, and you need evidence, and that evidence doesn't exist because it's a lie. But when you get more and more people that gas each other up with the fake shit, this is what you end up with. You end up right, like the Iran war and these miscalculations, just like the perception of Russia is actually a friend. They're just a friend, guys. They're a friend of the United States, and they're just a victim. They got backed into a corner by mean old NATO. All that bullshit. And it's part of the same category of delusional thinking. Iran is just the election denial of national security. Well, Iran and the Russia is actually a friend. Russia is a friend we haven't made yet. Those are, by the way, the same thread, basically. They are, the COVID denial of national security. The election denial is the COVID isn't real of domestic electoral politics. And like, it's really troubling that the country is governed by people who believe, the geopolitical version of aliens built the pyramids. Yeah. Even worse, because, like nobody was shooting video when aliens built the pyramids. But like, imagine if they literally, like, if the Egyptians like left hieroglyphics that were like, here is a detailed description of everything we did to build the pyramids, and somebody was like, the aliens, look at these fucking losers. The aliens put up all these hieroglyphics saying, we built the pyramids. Here is a step-by-step process. Ace Cams, off topic, but Ukraine is slowly making small gains thanks to drones, while Russia is having a hard time stopping them. Do you think Ukraine's going to refuse any peace deal when they have the advantage? I mean, Ukraine is being offered peace deals. They're just really shitty, unenforceably bad peace deals. Ukraine is, I don't think necessarily, I wouldn't call it an advantage. I'd call it closer to true neutral. It's a little bit like you're still outnumbered, you're still outgunned, but you're closing the gap. That's what I would say. They're refusing really shitty peace deals now. On the belief that Russia is just going to strengthen their military and continue to push. And I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see Ukraine continue to push. I think you're going to see Russia still kind of grasp for solutions. I think this huge increase in Russian oil prices is really, really, really beneficial to Russia. It's one of the reasons why they love this thing. It's one of the reasons why they're supporting Iran explicitly now. Again, the only person who cannot conceive of these alliances is interlinked is the president, who simply says, again, I love Russia. Russia's great. Russia's wonderful. And then pretends that Russia isn't like actively involved in killing Americans here, and like that just doesn't bother him at all. He's unable to see it. He's unable to see Russia supporting his enemies, Russia cheering for him being stuck in a quagmire. Trump is out of touch with reality. Yeah. People are like, he's not unable, he's an asset. It's tough to say because you read his truths, his Trump tweets or whatever, and they don't have, he appears to have really simple cognition. Again, like the Iran war is a masterclass in a total absence of planning, right? Because remember, Trump's in office for 4 years, and he could have told Netanyahu, yo, dude, just wait until after the midterms. We're going to try to win the midterms, and then, we're going to try to maintain the House, maintain the Senate. Then we're going to have 2 years to prosecute this war before I have to wrap up my term. So that's what a smart president would do. But the fact that he jumped into this so close to the midterms was just so stupid. And he did it with so little planning, with no, like obviously foreseeable events where it's obvious that the administration didn't have a plan because if they did, they wouldn't have had to lie about what they were doing. And so I don't think he's that smart. I think what he is personally interested, and he understands that Russia is willing to financially help him, has financially helped him in the past, has politically helped him by hacking and leaking the WikiLeaks thing. Right? So again, he has a very simple, like almost like an animal type of conception of like threat versus not threat, like threat versus food. I think that's the extent to which he seems to be able to conceive of things as like something is a threat and I hate it, or something is food and it enriches me. And like, that's kind of it. That's kind of the extent of it. And like the things that are threats, like the Democrats, are pure evil. Like he definitely doesn't have nuance, and he definitely can't put himself in the shoes of another human being with sets of incentives. Wenzel Coxon, welcome. I see you guys. I see all you members. Lord Zori. Lord Zori, so this is just a rant I'm going to go on. He says the biggest problem with those people in COVID conspiracies are adding the issue of being unprepared for the next outbreak. My argument is that the COVID type of thinking and the enabling of like not areas of debate, or not areas of like personal referenda, but like real areas where there is a right and a wrong, right? Shape of the globe, flat or round. When you have these kinds of debates and you falsely create this two sides debate system, what you do is you create a world in which moving towards solutions cannot exist. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, COVID is just one manifestation, where, yeah, totally, we're not prepared for the next pandemic. But also, like, some people are going to be killed or crippled this year because they don't trust or refuse the COVID vaccine. Something that, again, even if you thought it wasn't tested properly 6 years ago when it came out, now it's been 5-6 years. So all those vaccinated people should have dropped dead, right? We should be dead. I always joke. I have a person I know who's very anti-vax, and like, I'm like, listen, dude, you've met my kids. Like, I thought the vax was supposed to sterilize me. It obviously didn't. It obviously failed. My kids are annoyingly similar to me, so there's nowhere else. Yeah, the reality split, right? It's also like, but it's more than that, right? You look at RFK and his other fringe health beliefs. You look at how many people embrace, you look at even someone like Steve Jobs, right? Someone who entered into this cult-like belief around health and vegetarianism and whatever. And he ignored doctors who were like, hey man, your pancreatic cancer is actually one of the few kinds that's treatable. You have a really good chance. And he said, I'm not going to treat it from you guys. I'm going to treat it. I'm going to move away from the scientific consensus and go towards this fantasy. And he died because he believed in a fantasy. There's so many of these things. Again, you don't look at the hard data and ask the real questions, and you synthesize the information about Iran, and is the regime stable? Are they really pursuing a nuclear weapon? And you go with the fantasy of like, we go in, we kill the Ayatollah, and suddenly a democratic messiah emerges and changes everything, and now we're all friends, right? Jethro, a lot of people I know got really sick after the shot. I mean, technically, on a long enough timeline, everyone who got the COVID vaccine will die, but that's because mortality is essential to the human condition. And yeah, you feel like butt. To be clear, you feel like butt. Yeah. So again, yeah, winding around topics. But it's not. Again, there's a consistent theme. Remember the Ukrainian biolabs at the start of the war? Everybody's like, the Ukrainians have biolabs. That's what the Russians are here for. And it was like not real. No evidence. Totally fake. Yeah. So again, like the ability to adopt these evidence-free beliefs and then use these evidence-free beliefs as principles to govern, especially when you adopt them as like articles of faith. Again, like RFK will never, there will never be enough data for RFK to be satisfied that vaccines are good. Like there just isn't. He'll sit there and go, well, one time someone got the measles vaccine and then they fucking had a heart attack or whatever. And you go, yeah, dude, like, okay, people get heart attacks for all kinds of reasons all the time. Maybe it's a vaccine, maybe it's not. You know, statistically, like, I don't know, a few thousand people a day in America have heart attacks. It'll never be enough for him because he takes his stance as like an article of faith, you know? And same with all his other kooky dooky health stuff. And just like, you know, Trump will, and Pete Hegseth will never accept that, like, you can't just bomb your way to regime change. So again, this is all a similar thing. It's the same thing with the crystal healers. I don't see them as like really distinct ideas. I see them as like the ability to get pulled into cults or cult-like belief systems where it becomes a part of your identity, right? Once like anti-vaxxer became a thing you are, once like a MAGA became a thing you are, right? Like there's 30% of Americans, 1 in 3 Americans is like, I believe in Donald Trump, the man, and therefore I support everything he does. Like that's just a cult, okay? You're just in a cult. At that point, you take Trump's goodness as an article of faith. You don't need evidence for it. So yeah, I think this is these are all the same thing. You know, same with this guy Joe Kent, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, Joe Kent said something I agree with, so he must be right." It's like I think he might be right, but that doesn't mean he is good at assessing information. He also thinks the 2020 election was stolen. He has no evidence for it. His evidence is trash, just like every other election denier's evidence is trash. Everyone that says otherwise, everyone that endorses this belief, listen, pay attention to the language that almost every qualified person uses when describing the 2020 election, because you'll notice that they avoid saying explicitly the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. Like Ted Cruz was great at this. He would say things like, well, the American people deserve to know if their elections are secure. Well, that's just like universally true, right? Like that's something that we all agree with. It's not election denial. Okay, 0236 King. Hold on, you're telling me that 5G doesn't cause COVID? No, 5G causes measles and autism, but you know, that's just a given. Oh yeah, unless you've been microchipped. If you've been microchipped, then Bill Gates puts the liberal thoughts right into your brain. And if you don't agree with whatever Bill Gates says, he turns you trans. Yeah, I mean, Trump, by definition, when he prioritizes loyalty overall, he's going to get fringe people, right? Like, if you're not qualified, as discussed, Joe Kent repeatedly failing in his runs for Congress. And we saw We saw it doesn't take much to run for Congress and win. I mean, Anna Luna. Yeah. The water's turning the frogs gay. Yeah. So, all right. Is there any other questions you guys have for me? Because I'm gonna get out of here. I'll let you guys uh, enjoy your day. If you have other questions, please, by all means, drop it in. I really appreciate you guys. I really enjoy these. I hope you guys do too. I hope you get some value out of them. I know this was like a little bit of a all over the place kind of discussion, but I have fun. You know, I enjoy this, and I don't really care if people tune in and we're like, wait, you're ranting about COVID and you have Trump's truth crazy things. Like or whatever, but you know, as discussed, I think this is all one thing, man. But don't kid yourself. People that run these other countries, they know the truth, and most people in the American government know the truth. They just can't say it. Oh, hey, Arn Ice. Last shot of the 25th Brigade and the Pioneers firefighting and maintaining roads along great tankers, helping the ongoing efforts where gaps happen. Praises to a pair of LEO-1 intervening at the right place, right time. If you know, you know. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know, but I'm glad to see it. Thanks for the chat. Right. Oh, the Leos. Oh, maybe the leopards. Okay. Well, like I said, shout out to the 25th, right? And shout out to all you guys that have donated. Help those guys out. They're the real deal, man. They're the real deal. So, thank you guys.